When life throws you a curveball, how are you going to handle adversity? Welcome to the Fearless Mindset Podcast, where you're about to go on a journey as I interview security, business, and entertainment leaders on what it takes to stay fearless. I'm your host, Mark Ledlow, and enjoy today's episode.
That makes sense. More sense than I thought it would be. Huh. Good observation. Good perspective on that. Yeah, if you're in the audience tuning into this, we just hit our 30-minute mark on the podcast. I got Chris Stitt here he's from the East Coast. He just joined us. He's got a book he just came out with. Show the audience the book. His first publication, Scaling Pyramids on Leadership. And he just wrote that. And Chris just got his MBA. And so you know how to run a business. And he's also working on some public speaking stuff. And his background is with the State Department and security services and threat assessments, risk assessments, stuff like that. And he's telling his story on the podcast on what it's like to be a serial entrepreneur in the business world and the wins and the losses and the mindset it takes to do what he's doing. So if you're just tuning in, that's kind of where we're at with Chris and having that conversation on the wins, the highs, or I say highs and lows of being an entrepreneur. And it's definitely highs and lows.
Yeah.
Don't know. A lot of planting seeds, a lot of conferences, trying to get in the right network, trying to find the who's who and the who's got what and where. And it's like being a mouse in a maze trying to find that cheese.
No, it really is. And, having people like you to help guide, and I've been watching what you've been doing as you've been building, your various enterprises, because, you talk about me being a serial entrepreneur, but dude, look at you, with the podcast, the media group, the security and intelligence group, everything that you're doing. It's, I always like talking with you because it broadens my perspective and gets me the ability to kind of see, something new or different that I hadn't considered before. So, I really appreciate our friendship.
Oh, yeah, you're welcome. It's just trial and error and just having a thought come to your mind, go, could that become reality?
Yeah.
For example, we just did our big training chauffeur driving course in Dallas, first one in Texas. And I thought to myself, well, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this big. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, let's get a camera crew out there. And, my team's like, no, it costs too much. I'm like, what's the long-term goal?
Right.
Visibility, branding, telling the world what we can do in Texas. World Cup's coming around the corner. Super Bowl's coming around the corner in LA. What is the goal? To get the client's attention and to use this as a marketing branding tool to other agents out there that would like to take the course and family offices.
Yeah.
So why don't we create a movie, a documentary on what it's like to be a chauffeur driving force and an agent in Texas working with us? Let the agents doing the course tell the story. Yeah. Not us. Let them tell the story. Let them be the star of the movie. So we had a film crew for one day in downtown Dallas running around. One guy doing A-roll, one guy doing B-roll. How do I know that? Because I used to work in Hollywood doing background work. Got my SAT card. That worked on a lot of sets. So I'm like, that's what gave me the vision on how to do it. And my team goes, that's a lot of money. What are you doing? Like, just hold on and wait. Watch what I'm doing. And then I sat with Chris Decker,
Yeah.
And he was like the director on the scene. He had a couple guys out there running B-roll. We had a jet that we arranged to be on a tarmac for the training. And then he started showing me slides yesterday. I'm like, holy smoke, this looks good.
Yeah.
Like,
I bet.
Hollywood film cinematography type of thing. I'm like, whoa, this is looking pretty sharp. But what I learned is do not let people steer you from, if you have a vision or idea or something, just make it become reality. What's the worst thing can happen? It doesn't work out. Just go for it.
Yeah. And frankly, if you had not done it on this first course, if you had waited until later, it'll probably cost more because it's later. right? And inflation and things like that. But the opportunity that you seized there, I absolutely love it, and I love that it came from, your background doing protection in Hollywood and growing that understanding of how that business works, right? It really is pretty fantastic. And as you're talking through it, what I'm seeing is not just the documentary. Where's the 15 to 30 second clip that now populates on social media of, you guys, you are professionals training professionals in a way that most of these folks out there have probably never seen before.
True.
Right? They have a certain mindset of executive protection that is ill-informed. And, what you guys are doing is filling that void and disrupting that impression that they have. So, no, I think it's awesome.
I was thinking to myself, okay, yeah, we send you all the J-Hooks training. There's some cool people out there doing some cool things and driving courses. I'm like, okay, what can we do a little bit different that it will attract the client watching LinkedIn?
Yeah.
Like, hey, that's what I want. Hey, we may not be a good match for everybody, but the client's watching us, hey, that's what I've been looking for. So why not make a video, a commercial, a little clip, and highlight the agents, give them content they can use on their LinkedIn profile to brand themselves with our logo, cross-pollination and marketing, and say, hey, World Cup, if you're coming in town, we got some folks here that can help you. Here's what we did. If you like what we see, reach out to us.
Yeah.
Not even a hard sell. It's just, it's like an infomercial / film we're creating. And like you said, when I was in Hollywood working as a background artist, I just saw them do the A/B roll, how they did the filming and all that. I'm like, would it be cool to make a movie? Why not? Make a movie as this. And I'm like, okay. And then I saw how high quality was to invest $1,500 into some good quality GoPros and stuff, and maybe people having conversation as they're training. It's like, why not? And I have to give a shout out to Byron Rogers.
Okay.
He just, what he's done in the last several years, it's like seeing him do his stuff with his film crew. I'm like, okay, that's a genius idea. I mean, Byron's done some cool stuff using social media. I mean, he just blew up the business and from, the social media standpoint, and kind of like, he made exec protection kind of cool and attractive to the younger generation. Because the old OG guys were doing it wasn't interesting to them.
Right.
And of course, you have to sell sexy, and guys are attracted, alpha personalities are attracted a certain way. And, Byron hit that nerve, and kind of admire his ability to do that. I'm like, okay, that, ours is going to be more of a corporate style, more of a corporate look, just basic movement. And it was fun. And I'm like, let's make a movie about this and tell a story. So Chris is working on that. We're going to be releasing that probably in a few months, but it's just like everything I saw in Hollywood, being on TV sets, movie sets. Met Clint Eastwood on American Sniper on the set, shook his hand. They edited that thing out that I did, but that was cool. I shook his hand. I'm like, hey, Clint, nice to meet you. So you're a Marine, huh? Can you salute like one? And that was pretty much it. And Brad Cooper had a part, and I was right behind him on the coffin, but he didn't quite make it on the scene. So it's all right. Got to meet the man, Clint Eastwood, but just not being afraid to do things differently that interest you, that pique your interest. It doesn't have to be the same as everybody else. You can separate yourself.
Yeah, you've got to innovate, and like I said, like we started this part of the conversation, I've always been very impressed with, the different directions that you're going, but they're all grounded and based in, the executive protection, security, risk, things like that. But your ability to, use this forum to reach out there, this podcast forum to reach out there and, have your guests talk about, share lessons, help teach those that are up and coming through the business, right? you've got your executive protection schools now where you're actually training guys how to do it right. The driver school, plus then, of course, your core business of actually providing service to clients and providing, very high quality service to clients. And that's always been, I know, very important to you and very much a focus is, no, we're not just going to throw some bodies at this. We're going to make sure that we understand what the need is. We're going to make sure that we select the right bodies, and we're going to make sure that we deliver to the client in the way that makes them say, wow, okay, then let's do this again.
Yeah. And we realize we're not for everybody. That's okay with us, and we're going to be for some folks and not for others. And it's okay. And then the right people will be interested in the podcast or, the mixers that we do. Maybe we do mixers that the main events like the GSXs and all that. And we throw a big old party together. We get some co-sponsors and all that. And it's a good time to get together with everybody. And everybody's on like speed dating, hitting all the events during GSX week and exhausted by the end of all that. And it's, what are you doing that's different from everybody else?
Yeah. And even those, you're not just throwing the event, I love the stuff that you've done with Chris Decker, right? To actually capture the event, do the interviews. I remember, sitting with you in Las Vegas at Topgolf, right? And doing just your short little, 2-minute interview series that you did there, right? Different people, different perspectives, things like that, right? And then, some of the, the Fearless Mindset forums that you've put on, but not just that, you're turning it into that educational opportunity where you've got, the panel discussions and, the screen in the background where other people, you gave me an opportunity to kind of pitch my book and talk a little bit about my experience at, the Fearless Mindset Forum.
Down in New Orleans, right?
Yeah, down in New Orleans. And, it's not just a one and done event, how you're capturing it and how you're then able to, get that content out there over time to continue influencing people. You are an influencer, my friend.
And I never envisioned that, to be honest with you. Never the goal. Never the goal.
Right.
It's just getting friends together to celebrate the industry, celebrate our relationship together. That was an appreciation for the client business we've been getting from different people. But never envisioned, that was never my motivation to do any of this.
Yeah.
I'm still thinking about that right now. What we went through, I'm like, whoa, we pulled that off. That was wild.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. No, but like with everything else you do, one of the things, and again, this is one of the reasons why, I like talking to you. One of the things you do is you're always looking at, here's what we're doing. What's the, pixie dust that we can sprinkle on that? How can we make it better? How can we make it stronger? How can we use this to innovate in some other way as well?
Innovation, creativity.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember Chris even had to do the interview with you. That was so brain dead. It was the first time I had a mental block at my own venue. And he said, hey, can you do an interview? And I'm like, I am so brain dead. I don't even know what to say.
Oh. And
it's just like, I think when you hit your mental bandwidth and it hits its peak and it's full, and I was just, hey, how you doing? I wasn't even, for that day, I wasn't even doing the panel. It was Tim doing the panel.
Yeah.
I was in the background meeting everybody saying hi. And I was just like, I was on physically. But I think that stuff took so much bandwidth out of me to make sure it was right. And we went around 2 days before that to all the parties and all that.
Yeah.
I think I just hit the mental. I never had the mental block before, but that moment I had the mental block, and that's when Chris Decker interviewed you.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, I hit the wall. I'm just like, I was there, but my brain was like, someone flipped it off.
Well, those events are exhausting, right? Not just because you have a tendency to go from very early in the morning to very late at night, but, for those of you watching, you may not know this or understand this, but I am actually an introvert, right? I do not get my energy from dealing with a whole lot of people. I get my energy from the internal world of my ideas and, things like that. And I can very quickly get peopled out and hit that wall that you're talking about. And when you're dealing with an event like that, where you're constantly needing to be on, right? And constantly expending that both physical and mental energy, right? You can hit that wall pretty hard, and it can take a couple of days to recover after that.
One of the things you're right. You want to check out for a while.
Yeah.
You don't talk to anybody for like 5 days. Like, don't talk to anybody. Yeah, it's weird.
A couple of strategies that I've learned, to help, especially being in diplomatic circles, right? You're going to events all the time, for different embassies or your own embassy and, things like that. Find the small group within the large group where you can have a more focused discussion, and you can conserve and balance your energy that way. But then also I'll find myself, going to the bar, grab a drink, not even to drink it, but to step out on the balcony to just hold it and let the noise in my head reduce a little bit, right? Find a quiet corner of the thing, or as you and I know, a nice bathtub that I can sit in and, enjoy my drink.
There's an inside story on the bathtub. We have a thing now that we do. It started in Orlando, Florida at the Hyatt, didn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
We did our first big. What's that?
Yeah, they just had this beautiful bathroom with this, tub with this tile surround.
And I had no idea. I was so busy in the front with Tim and coordinating everything behind the scenes, doing filming, and Tim was doing an interview with Renee Stringer. And I had no idea you and
Nick Weber.
You and Nick were in the back of the back suite, the master bedroom. I had no idea there was a big old tub back there. You guys were snapping pictures back there. And I'm like, Nick sends me the picture. You send me the picture. I'm like, what is that? Where's that? I'm like, oh, the Hyatt, the suite in Orlando.
Yeah. So, and to be clear to the viewers and listeners, fully clothed with the jacket, with the tie, the dress shoes, just trying it out for size because, as an EP professional, you need to make sure that everything is going to be right for your principal. And is there a danger of slipping and falling, getting in and out of the tub?
That thing was a massive tub.
You got to do a proper advance, Mark. But then you guys.
So Chris was laying there in the tub, sitting back like that in the tub, and you had to see the view of the Orlando skyline, or the background of Orlando in the background through the window.
With the tumbler of whiskey sitting on the tile surround. Yeah.
That's right. Like, what are you guys doing back there? I didn't know, had no idea. Then all of a sudden that's spinballed into the next one that we did in JW Marriott at the suite in New Orleans. Mm-hmm. And that's when I got in the bathtub. And I think Jeffrey Dean got in the bathtub. So now if you want to know where these pictures of the people in the bathtubs are all about, Chris Stitt started it. He started the whole bathtub.
The true innovator, picture. Right? Yeah,
the innovator. Fully clothed, folks. Fully clothed. Only boys in the locker room or the restroom. It wasn't co-ed. Just fully clothed, all in fun and humor. So maybe
make sure that it's safe for the principal to get in and out of.
Yes, you got to do a proper advance of the restroom. Make sure there was any slippery slopes or anything like that for an injury.
That's right.
For lawsuit. So we had to do proper advance, but. That is hilarious.
Yeah.
So
but like I said, again, Atlanta, Georgia. It was one of those things. I kind of needed to step away from the big group to, moderate my energy expenditure. Right. Yeah. So I was like, hey, Nick, let's just go see what else is, this is a great suite here. Let's go see what else is here. And, that one thing led to another. And Nick and I were not in the bathtub together. Too. It was just me. He was taking the picture.
Maybe we get a mansion in Atlanta, Georgia or something. And then we do maybe a hot tub picture fully clothed. They have to empty out the hot tub.
You got
We'll
to
figure
drain the
that
hot
out.
tub if you're going to do that. That was the other thing. I
Yeah.
mean, it's not like we filled the
Got drained.
bathtub with water, right? It was dry.
Yeah.
So
Maybe we may have to do the photo op with a hot tub or something. A
Yeah.
nice Airbnb mansion in somewhere in Georgia for the next GSX. So we'll have to figure.
interesting.
We'll have to do a secret operation on that to figure out what we can come up with. And that might be entertaining for the audience.
Yeah.
And they're all going to be blown up. You do hot tub? What security folks do hot tubs and bathtub photo ops? Interesting. Oh,
Yeah.
that
I actually
will
did
spark
put in
you.
for another talk at GSX this year.
Did you?
Put in for the career stage.
Okay.
You know, basically leading organizations from wherever you stand in that organization. You know,
Right.
take
Nice.
some themes from my book. So,
What are you hearing out there from the next generation? What is their biggest complaint about how the OGs do security, and what are they wanting to do differently?
you know, I'm not in a lot of contact with them, but I think one of the big things is the rapid adoption of technology, and not just AI, right? But AI, I think, plays a big role in that. And I think there's a lot of concern out there, especially with, the original generation of data security, data privacy, that, a lot of the younger generation doesn't fully understand that concern or doesn't fully embrace that concern. And they think that, the older generation is just Luddites. But, the truth is, AI serves a purpose. I use it quite a bit, quite frankly, in, what I'm doing and trying to develop stuff. I refer to it as my friend ChatGPT. And there's a couple other, AI tools that I use out there for development of graphics, development of photos, as I'm putting together presentations, things like that. But, especially when I'm dealing with client information, I've got to be very cognizant of the privacy concerns that are there. Right. So, no, I'm not running client information through AI, or I'm, working with that client to make sure that there is an AI system that they use and prefer, and what are the security settings on it, in order to keep that within, my local system rather than going out and being used for training that AI. So I would say, that's got to be part of it. That use of technology, that use of AI, and it's also a really interesting shift too when you think about, I came up in the diplomatic corps, spent an entire career in the diplomatic corps. That meant suits and ties, right? That was a major shift when I got into the corporate world. That here I am in my company logoed polo shirt, right? And this would be perfectly acceptable at most engagements and meetings.
Would you say corporate risk and enterprise advisory stuff, is that more word of mouth now than reputation? What do you see? Because I know you've been consulting with some big firms overseas and domestically. Is it more word of mouth, referral based?
Yeah, I would say word of mouth, referral based. There's some big names out there, right? There's some big name companies that, they're going to be in the top 3 that people consider, right? But at the same time, there's companies out there that can't afford the big names. So building those, I come back to it again, relationships. And where can you get the referrals? Where can you get the introductions? Where can you get, that relationship building, so that, you can engage with them and provide, quite frankly, as high a quality service as some of the big names, but, for a fraction of the price.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. The climate is definitely changing. Our world's changed dramatically. We got Iran on the cuff of something. Look what we just did, the build up in the Caribbean with the U.S. fleet.
Yeah.
Something's going to go. Just copying what just happened in the Caribbean. We just took out that guy, and now we're doing the same thing in the Arabian Ocean and the Indian Ocean by Iran. We got probably double the size of a fleet around Iran right now. So I think something's going to happen there. And then
it's the largest deployment since Desert Storm, as I recall.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Not even the invasion of Iraq, but Desert. If I recall correctly, I read recently, it is the largest deployment since Desert Storm.
So what do you think? Something's going down. Something's going to happen. What do you think? I'm thinking, is it posture or?
So you would always hope that it could get resolved peacefully, but man, this is a huge expenditure of blood and treasure to, put all these pieces out there to do nothing with.
Sure.
Right. And you've also got the history, quite frankly, of the long drawn out negotiations that really end up going nowhere.
Sure.
And you've got a president that doesn't have a whole lot of patience for that. He wants to strike the deal or do the strike. Right?
Yep.
It's a personality thing. So, you've got a very different personality in the White House right now with President Trump. And, if the Iranians are, he said in the State of the Union last night, I'm just waiting for the magic words. We will not pursue nuclear weapons. You just say that, we can be friends and we can work together to rebuild your country and your economy. Right? But, it's either a strike the deal or do the strike, I think is where we're at right now. And now, if all the pieces aren't in place yet, they will be within the next 24 to 48 hours. And I also know that they've done stuff like, done a ordered departure of family members and dependents and non-emergency staff from the U.S. Embassy in Beirut.
That's an indicator. You're getting ready for something.
Yep. And the same thing with the military bases throughout the Middle East. All the family members are going home. Move them out of the way so that when the retaliatory strikes come, you don't have your loved ones in the middle of that as well.
So more than likely, it's going to be an Air Force aerial strike type of combat. I don't perceive troops being on the ground. It's going to be more from the planes, the ships, doing everything aerial. That's kind of my theory. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you really got to look at what are the objectives and what is the role, right? So Venezuela, the objective was get Maduro. So you had a ground component there, right? But very small and very short. If the goal here is still to basically annihilate their nuclear development capability, then aerial makes the most sense. If, however, the goal is also forced regime change, then you've got certain, the possibilities of a special forces or clandestine operations role.
So we say clandestine role. That's more agency stuff, right?
Yeah, agencies, some of the military units that work with them, different things like that.
So tier 1 level, probably Delta Force again being engaged, and maybe SEAL Team 6, the tier 1 level folks engagement. And that's probably going to be that's going to be it. They're going to do a regime switch out or whatever they're going to do.
Yeah, and it's also you've got the the question of the the protests that are going on. As I understand it, I was reading in a Wall Street Journal article a couple of weeks ago that the United States facilitated the smuggling of thousands of Starlink receivers into Iran, so that when the regime tries to, because one of the things that happened during the last protests was the first thing the government does is they shut off the internet. They shut off the ability of the people, of the protesters to communicate and coordinate, right? Well, a couple of things that happened with that, again, this is based on press reporting. I don't have inside classified information, and any remarks that I make are my own and may not reflect the positions of the United States government.
There you go.
But I'll just throw that in there. But looking at the some of this press reporting, providing the Starlink, and then one of the things that happened was it was the first time a foreign government had actually gone after and tried to disrupt the Starlink signal.
Crazy. China did that, didn't they? They interfered with them or something?
Yeah, the Iranian government interfered with, that Starlink signal to try and degrade it enough that people couldn't continue to communicate and coordinate. Again, the student protests have erupted again now. You've got that pressure. You've got, factions of the United States have been supporting these protests, right? In some ways. The question then becomes, what are the next steps? Again, unless you strike a deal.
I don't think they're going to strike a deal. I think the Iranian culture is a theistic type of culture, religion based, and they're like, "You guys are the infidels over there. You guys are the infidels. You're the great Satan." That's how they believe. That's the way they think. And so it's in their religion, it's okay to lie. They don't have any guilt for lying to their enemy. It's just how they think and believe. And however, they do, from what I understand from learning about their culture, they do respect power and pain. That gets their attention. But here's the reality.
And another facet of this that we got to consider, though, is as well, which is the Iranian government, yes, is propped up by, the Grand Ayatollah, the religious figures, etc. But especially, we were talking about differences in generations in our own country. Well, there's massive differences in the generations in Iran as well. That's why think about this. They killed 30,000 protesters in an effort to hang on to power. That many people willing to sacrifice their lives to stand up against their government.
Wow. That's significant.
Okay. If they killed 30,000, how many total were protesting?
Wow. Yeah.
Right? And there you talk about a generational divide and a generational split between, how things have been going and the hope for the future. And that's, one of the things that, the administration is trying to tap into and feed into in, continuing to support these protests. Right? I mean, think about that for a minute. 30,000 protesters killed.
That's massive. If that happened in the U.S., the Civil War.
100%.
But you're dealing with a religious movement over there by the Ayatollah. They just have a different way of believing than we do. But like you said, the young generation stood up and 30,000 were killed, massacred.
Yeah.
Isn't that called genocide?
It also shows how scared the regime is.
Oh, yeah, that's true. For them to do that, not to let go of power.
I mean, one of the things here in the States, we've had some violent responses to protests, right? And we've even had some people killed in protests, but not on that kind of deliberate scale.
That's huge, massive scale.
Yeah.
But I heard 30,000, I'm like, whoa. We saw part of the screened on TikTok and Instagram, saw a lot of that streamed over. I'm like, whoa, this is crazy. Yep. And the people are willing to kill their own people for power.
Yeah. And then the next question becomes, if that is the regime's response and continues to be, And the Trump administration's position last time was, don't you dare kill any protesters. But from the protesters' view, 30,000 people were killed and the U.S. did nothing.
Yeah, that's a great point. Very valid.
For how long are they going to continue to rely on the support and the belief that the U.S. will come save them? So that comes back to, again, what actually happens with this military buildup.
We shall see what happens in the next 48 hours. End of the week. We'll see.
Yeah, 48, 72. I figured that it wouldn't happen during the State of the Union, mostly because the president, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, the vice president, everybody like that was sitting in the Capitol building. But
boom. Airstrike. Yeah.
Yeah.
They do have capabilities and missiles. We saw what they did to Israel.
Yeah.
So, and we have a lot of terrorist cells in the U.S. soil.
Yeah.
And they came across the border the last 4 years. We don't know who they are, but
yeah. Last 4 years, even before that. And, quite frankly, some of them came across the border. Some of them have flown in under, other ways.
So the U.S. is very vulnerable.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a lot can happen. It's crazy time. But we still live in the greatest country in the world, regardless of who's president. The one thing about, if you're listening to this, if you're younger generation, one thing you count on, we do have elections every 4 years. So you may not like Trump in office right now. I served under Bill Clinton in the Marine Corps. And I didn't think Democrat or Republican. I just want to serve my country. That's how I thought.
Yeah.
And so now, we'll have midterms coming around the corner. And we'll have another 3 years, another presidential election. That's how it goes. And legally, by the Constitution, Trump cannot serve another term. That's just how the Constitution is written. So that's not going to happen. J.D. Vance could run with Rubio. Yeah, could be. Maybe Newsom may run with Kamala Harris or somebody else, or maybe the West Virginia new governor. She could run. I mean, she's got a big following. So who knows?
A weird, Andy Beshear out of Kentucky, because, he's a Democrat who's the governor of a Republican state. Right. And, and there's a couple others out there. You've heard Pritzker's name floated. You've heard a couple others floated, So, again, we'll see how that continues to develop. I am a little concerned, honestly, with some of the machinations that are going on to, restrict access to voting. And I'm concerned about the continued, cries of, we got to make sure that, illegal aliens aren't voting when none of the data supports that. And in fact, I was reading an article. They've put out the federal government put out a new system to verify voter registrations against citizenship databases. And, Texas was one of the states that piloted this thing. And they found that the error rate generated by this system and the instructions on resolving those errors were so poor that, there's a question about how credible it is. So how many people live in Texas? You live in Texas sometimes. How many people live in Texas?
I don't even know, millions.
All right.
And then the migration from the California and the West Coast.
So out of the millions of people that live in Texas, and of those, the hundreds of thousands to millions of people that vote in Texas, this system from the federal government flagged like less than 1,000 people, or around 1,200 people, right? And I don't know the exact numbers. I read this article a couple of days ago, but it flagged, let's call it 1,200 people. The error rate in that, and this is not people who had voted, these are just people who had registered to vote, right? The error rate in the data when they actually did the investigations to figure out, is this person actually a citizen or not, was somewhere in the neighborhood of 17%.
That's not very much.
Well, when you look at it, if you're going to say, yes, you can or you can't vote based on this data, for it to be wrong 17% of the time or 14% of the time, right? And you're disenfranchising voters in that way, it's a problem. So the states that are piloting this thing are saying, hey, this thing's flawed. We're not going to be able to use this for our elections that are coming up.
Oh, good to know. Did not know that.
A lot of it is because it's based on older data. Some people have actually become naturalized since the data set was created. And some people, when they went and got their driver's license, they're here legally, but they're not a citizen yet. Well, they accidentally ticked the box saying, yes, I'd like to register to vote because, you're confused by the form or whatever. Or the person entering the data at the DMV clicks it, without thinking about it because they always click that box because most people are citizens, right? And that's where you get some of that. But that does not indicate that they actually voted, just that they were registered. So
we'll see how that transpires and resolves itself in time. We'll see.
Yeah.
Interesting to know, though.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Chris, for joining us on the podcast. And if you want to follow us, we're on YouTube, and I think 180,000 subscribers on that thing now. And on all the podcast platforms, Spotify, Apple, and Amazon. So give us a comment, give us a 5-star rating on those. That helps with the algorithms. And check out Chris Stitt's book on his website, landing page, and buy it. And if you need to get a hold of Chris for some consulting stuff or speaking engagement, reach out to him on LinkedIn. He's on LinkedIn all the time. So with that said, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for joining the podcast, and we'll see you on the next episode. See you then.